It's no secret that NASCAR has gotten really soft over the last 4 or 5 years when it comes to exciting fights in the sport. But today I wanted to go over all of these fights that have made our sport awesome. And we're going to kick things off right here with a classic. Kevin Harvick versus Greg Biffle. Greg Biffle, rest in peace, Greg Biffle, completely dumped Kevin Harvick at Bristol Motor Speedway. And Kevin Harvick proceeded to wait all race long. He was like literally just standing there with his arms crossed and just watched the race go on and on and on and on. And after the race, he certainly made his point known that he was not happy.
Just the first instinct was to leap from the wall, over the deck lid, and off the top rope. And I had Biffle by the collar, and I didn't really know what to do from that particular point because it was like a big mosh pit.
Let's be real, that's really cool. Honestly, like that's something I could not even imagine pulling off. Now, it's not really much of a fight. That's why it's kind of lower on my list because, yeah, he like vaulted over the car. That's the reason it's on here. He like goes over the car and gets to Greg Biffle and has got him by like the collar of his fire suit. But that's really as far as it went. There wasn't really any punches thrown, and therefore it's pretty low on the list because it's not like a big time fight. It's just more of like a little bit of a scuffle and a disagreement, but it's still really cool, mainly style points for Kevin Harvick. This next one is not a proud moment for me because I am a Jeff Gordon fan and he's my all-time favorite driver, and this was probably the worst he's ever looked in his NASCAR career. 2012 Phoenix Raceway, after a season-long kind of beef at different points throughout the season with Clint Bowyer, it hit a boiling point in the final laps of this race, and Jeff Gordon proceeded to wait on Clint Bowyer and right hook him head on into the outside wall. If they did that nowadays, that would be an automatic suspension. Did not turn into a suspension for Jeff Gordon, though, in 2012. And, well, you could imagine, Clint Bowyer was actually in the mix for a championship as well when this happened. And, well, once Jeff Gordon got back to the garage area, well, things got a little bit out of control.
That's a year's worth of frustration. Oh, conflict. The crews are in it. And somewhere in the middle of that is Jeff Gordon.
And it was not over yet. Clint Bowyer gets out of his car. My man is running faster. I did not realize he was actually athletic, and here he is absolutely just chucking it through the pit road and garage area. Unfortunately for him, Jeff Gordon, another not proud moment was the fact that he right hooked Clint Bowyer into the wall, wrecked a couple other cars in the process, but also then hid in his hauler behind, I would imagine, some team members, and therefore he did not face Clint Bowyer face to face. So Jeff Gordon lost some points on that one there. But I remember being a 12-year-old kid and thought it was awesome because I was really mad at Clint Bowyer that year for like 3 different moments, and including in that race as well. But not a good look on Jeff Gordon, but a still really epic moment just watching the crews and all just scrapping it out. Ty Gibbs and Sam Mayer in the Xfinity Series a few years ago at Martinsville, while they're racing for $100,000 in the dash for cash, and Sam Mayer got a little bit aggressive and gave him the bumper and got himself the $100,000. I mean, he did a little bit more than just give him a bumper, of course, but Ty Gibbs not happy about it after the race, and one thing leads to another, and Ty Gibbs starts throwing punches, and Sam Mayer never really had an opportunity here because obviously everyone's like all in it at this point, and these two are like just holding on to each other. But Ty Gibbs did get a couple of swings in there. However, Ty Gibbs loses major points here because the number one rule that you should follow as a race car driver when you're about to fight: helmet off. When you leave the helmet on, that's about as weak as it gets, and you lose a ton of respect points when it comes to fighting, and really you just look like a softie. Joey Logano versus Denny Hamlin. Not the first time Joey Logano is going to be on this list, but 2019 at Martinsville Speedway. These two battling late in the race, also both attempting to make it into the Final Four, and Denny Hamlin puts Joey Logano into the outside wall, and then Logano loses a tire, goes spinning a few corners later, leads to this post-race conversation.
Stop! 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 Hey, stop!
This was a wild one. I don't see really any punches being thrown, but of course they're kind of grabbing at each other. And then you got this loser that comes in, and crew member literally grabs Denny from the back and throws him to the ground. That is as cheap shot as it can possibly get, just about. That's like the next worst thing after. That might be worse than wearing a helmet from a driver perspective. That's pretty bad. And I mean, that genuinely could have injured Denny Hamlin in that situation. Hamlin gets up though, and of course him and Joey Logano still trying to go at it a little bit. They even hold hands at one point and do a little bit of dancing around with each other, and then it finally comes to an end. But all the crews are in it, and this is a conversation which NASCAR has a big problem with, some fans have a big problem with. I want your input in the comment section right now. Should team members, pit crew members, crew chiefs, whatever it is, should they be allowed to be in on the fight? Here's my opinion. You cannot tell me NASCAR is a team sport and then get angry when the teams are fighting. I don't even see how I need to explain myself on that one. They advocate towards us all the time that we are a team sport, but yet when the teams fight, it's wrong. I don't know, it just seems kind of weird to me. Like, yeah, the drivers I know are the ones that are having the beef on the racetrack, but let's keep in mind it's a team sport. The team's very involved with the entire race, how you're running, working on the cars, the crew chiefs, and determining how the car drives. Like, they've got a lot invested in that race, just like the driver does. I don't see any issue with the teams getting involved in the fights, and I personally love when like all the teams are fighting. Now, before we get to the best ones, I've got a couple honorable mentions here. We got Regan Smith and Ty Dillon at Watkins Glen. This is back in the Xfinity Series, and Regan, oh my goodness, he pulled the hat off of Ty Dillon's head. That is a bold move. Regan Smith has me blocked on Twitter, by the way. Anyways, Kyle Larson and Bubba Wallace at Las Vegas in 2022. This was a pretty one-sided, not even a fight. Bubba was just kind of shoving Larson around, and Kyle was having none of it. He is not a fighter, and certainly made it known right there. We had Joey Logano versus Tony Stewart at Auto Club in 2013, where Tony was mad about a block from Joey Logano. He would not do well in current-day NASCAR if he had a problem with a block in 2013. But anyways, he was having a little bit of a tussle, but not really a whole lot going on there. And also Noah Gragson versus Ross Chastain, very one-sided there. Ross gets a punch straight to the face of Noah Gragson, but because we've gotten so soft, they didn't even let Noah have an opportunity to punch him back, and that is a massive L on NASCAR's part. Next up, we got the fight from Donnie Allison, Cale Yarborough, 1979 Daytona 500. And this is kind of what made NASCAR known for some of the fighting that we still know to this day. And these boys absolutely scrapping it out here in turn number 3. I mean, we've got, helmets flying, and that's a good fight. That is a pretty good fight. Not at the top of my list, but that's what I want fighting to be in NASCAR. Word on the street a few weeks ago was that Daniel Suarez can't fight because Ross Chastain had a conversation with him on pit road, and well, somehow that turned into a whole narrative that Daniel Suarez can't fight. My man, I gotta give these guys some room here. Look at this. Daniel Suarez, Michael McDowell here. This is in qualifying, by the way, at Phoenix Raceway, and how in the world, Michael McDowell, do you manage to lose this? First of all, you got your helmet on. bad. You already lost points. Second, you put your hands on Daniel Suarez's neck. You've already started the fight. You've got the upper hand, and somehow it turns out pretty bad for you. You end up on the ground. Then in comes your crew chief, who puts Suarez on the hood of the car, and he starts pulling at his shoe. He's grabbing his shoe. This is a great fight right here. As embarrassing as it is for Michael McDowell, helmet on, you grabbed his neck, you got dropped, and the only thing left to do for you is to grab his shoe. Yeah, you look like absolute just embarrassment right there in terms of fighting ability, but it was still an awesome fight to watch. Also, as a Daniel Suarez fan, you can imagine I enjoyed watching him drop another driver that had the upper hand to begin with. Next, we got the best modern fight, or best fight in recent history, and that is Kyle Busch versus Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at North Wilkesboro in 2024 in the All-Star race. Busch wrecked Stenhouse for really no reason on like lap 2. Stenhouse can't leave the track, so he has to wait for Kyle Busch pretty well to be done the race before he can even think about going home. So after the race, these two, well, they've got a beef going back like 10 years. Not 10 years probably, but quite a long time. And you could almost feel like there was a punch coming. You just didn't know who it was going to be from. Stenhouse throws the punch, connects, and then it just goes crazy. Everyone's kind of tussling for a minute. Stenhouse is on the ground, Kyle Busch is on the ground, and well, I mean, that's a good little fight right there. They get it sorted out. Kyle Busch starts trash talking Stenhouse actually a little bit on the trailer. That might be a bad move considering he just dropped you. And as well, the one Kyle Busch crew guy here, like just throwing Ricky Stenhouse Jr. crew members off of their trailer. That was absolutely epic. That is an awesome NASCAR fight right there. Really unexpected duo to see fight, because I know they've had beef, but I never expected those two to actually fight each other. We got more Kyle Busch and Joey Logano. Las Vegas 2017. Joey Logano final lap cleans out Kyle Busch, just driving too hard on the final lap, and sends the 18 spinning. Kyle Busch comes up in, just like stealth mode here after the race. Logano is kind of behind his team a little bit, and here comes Kyle Busch actually like walking up, and I should get out of your way, okay? Yeah, he's swinging. That, I don't think anyone saw that coming. It looked like nobody was prepared for that, and now y'all are all on the ground here, absolutely tussling. I don't want to be a part of this, but it's yellow versus yellow. Who's who? I would have been swinging at my own teammate because I would have just seen yellow and I'm just like, punch him. So definitely got to be careful with that. But Kyle Busch has got blood running down his forehead, and that's a good NASCAR fight right there. Kyle Busch going after Joey Logano. Another kind of, I feel like, a beef that had been building. They don't like each other. It was pretty obvious, and they finally throw some hands a little bit. Well, very one-sided. Kyle Busch is the one that really did the swinging there, but all around great NASCAR fight. Denny Hamlin versus Brad Keselowski and Matt Kenseth 2014 chase race at Charlotte Motor Speedway. After the race, they had some beef in the race, obviously. Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, well, Hamlin's trying to get to Brad after the race. His team's really holding him back in the garage area. But Denny, oh my God, dude, that was one heck of a towel throw right there. Oh my goodness. He throws the towel at Keselowski. That one might have left some damage, and that was pretty it for Denny. They got him away at that point. But Brad Keselowski, as he's walking back through the haulers, here comes Matt Kenseth. Oh my goodness, he connected pretty well on that one. We got everybody else coming in here. Okay, you guys can go by. That is insane. They are absolutely scrapping, but they get it broken up pretty well. And Matt Kenseth's just going on about how Keselowski ran into him after the race, and he was not happy about it. Brad Keselowski was hitting everything in the chase in 2014, and this time Matt Kenseth was hitting him, because what I loved about this fight is he grabbed him and he connected on the punch, and this is what I loved about NASCAR as well. And this era was when drivers screwed around. They found out, because we weren't cracking down so hard on fighting, because you know what? Brad Keselowski, after a chase filled with getting punched, he cleaned things up pretty well the following year, which you don't see nowadays, because NASCAR would rather you be a wrecking ball than you actually have to deal with the consequences of your actions. It's time for the best NASCAR fight in history. It's my favorite driver, Jeff Gordon, and again, Brad Keselowski. 2014, just a few races after the one we just talked about, Texas Motor Speedway, Jeff Gordon is having a dominant year. A bad day at this point in the season was 4th or 5th. That would be an off day for Jeff Gordon. That's how good of a season he was having. And here he was in position again to potentially win. And Keselowski and him racing for space. Keselowski comes through, cuts down the tire of the 24. Jeff Gordon would be eliminated from the chase because of this. Or maybe Ryan Newman doing a cheap shot the week after in Phoenix. But this was the moment that put him in that position nonetheless. Not happy after the race. Jeff Gordon, you know, if you don't make Jeff Gordon happy, there's a good chance he's going to come swinging. And after this race, well, this was a very polarizing fight because Jeff Gordon's trying to get to Brad Keselowski. Brad Keselowski is hiding behind his crewmen, which that is such a weak move, and he almost seemed uninterested in a conversation with the 4-time champion at this point. And well, there's only one thing that's going to allow Jeff Gordon to get to the back of Brad Keselowski. That was awesome. That was absolutely pinnacle NASCAR fighting. Now, Jeff Gordon gets Keselowski by the collar after Kevin Harvick gives him a nice push from behind to say, hey, you should maybe deal with your own issues instead of letting your team deal with it and you just hide behind them. Gordon gets hold of his collar. He ain't letting go. Jeff Gordon's got that grip that he's not letting go, and basically pulls Keselowski into a absolute mayhem of people fighting. That was absolutely epic. People are swinging. Not a huge fan of Casey Kane. We have a Casey Kane crew member coming in here and start throwing hands. Not a fan of that, even though he was throwing some great punches. Not a huge fan of like crew members from other teams deciding they're going to get involved. I know it's a teammate to the 24, but not a fan of that. But outside of that, I mean, these guys, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Peak. They are swinging, and everyone's just lost in the middle. You have no idea where the drivers are at this point. But team sport, the teams are fighting. That's how it should be. And everyone eventually calms down, and Keselowski's got a few marks on his face. Jeff Gordon looks a little bit worse for wear after that one, and that was just, I mean, it does not get much better than that, in my opinion. And that will, I think, be the #1 fight in NASCAR history in my personal list for many years to come. And with the way we're going, I don't think we're ever going to see anything close to being as good as that ever again, unfortunately. But I just wanted to go over some of the best fights in NASCAR history today. There's a lot of ones that were really bad and embarrassing as well. I think we're going to do a video on that in the future. But you guys let me know your best fights down below. Do you agree with me or not? Should teams be able to fight, or should it only be drivers only? I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.
I'm stuck in my head, need an exit.